Hospitalized girl won't tell who did it, but hero detective sees her sweating when couple walks in. A hospitalized girl won't tell who did it, but hero detective sees her vitals change when a couple walks in. Before we begin, a detective usually tries to put the pieces of a certain puzzle back together to form a bigger picture. They research the facts and do their best to connect the dots. Their jobs are not easy or simple. It takes patience, intelligence, common sense, and a strong imagination to be a successful detective, track and trace all possible leads to find out the truth. And yet sometimes the real answers to the mysteries they try to solve are already right in front of them. Debbie Richmond's life was turned upside down when her father was shot and killed a drug-addicted family member who was tried. As a juvenile shot Debbie's father and now lives in the home where the shooting occurred. According to Richmond, authorities freed the 17-year-old gunman after he spent just 3 months in a mental health ward. To Debbie, that felt like the whole system was an injustice to her father and her family. In her grief, Richmond prayed for a way to turn her dad's death into a positive event. Prayers have always motivated Richmond. Each morning, she picks a Bible verse, writes it out on a little yellow sticky note, hangs it on her desk and meditates on it throughout the day. On Mondays, the yellow note contained 3 verses, detailing how each person has a particular strength and ability to contribute. She soon answered an employment ad for a dispatcher with the idea of one day moving up in the department. She would never have picked being a law enforcement authority as profession in a million years. She believed that it was God who guided her to it. Debbie Richmond admits she's too much of a girly girl for the job. It was a crazy idea, she thought at the time, so the plan remained a secret. Still, it had to be tried. Richmond wanted to make a difference so that other people won't be treated by the system the way she was determined to turn the shocking crime that happened to her father into something positive. Debbie decided to apply for a job as a 911 dispatcher. After 2 years of directing emergency calls, Richmond applied for a test offering a shot at the police academy. She kept the test, a well-guarded secret from friends and family, because she didn't want to be embarrassed if she failed, which she confidently passed. Richmond moved into the Criminal Investigations Division. After several years as a patrol officer, she's been with the police department for 20 years and now finally the Tennessee native works as a detective, digging through cases of child and elder abuse. Shortly after that, on February 18, 1997, a 19-year-old girl was hospitalized after a failed attempt to commit suicide. Debbie never thought her very first child abuse case would become the worst she'd ever seen. The investigation of a Baptist preacher who adopted a girl and kept her as the family slave until she was 19 turned into one of the biggest cases for the Bristol Police Department in Tennessee. She was still a new detective when she met a woman named Elsa in the hospital. Elsa had tried to take her own life. By drinking antifreeze, it was up to Debbie to figure out what had gone wrong in Elsa's life. Up until that point, but it would not be easy. When I first saw Elsa, she looked like she was about 12 years old. Debbie told Dr. Phil she was just covered in scars from the top of her head to her toes. The teenage girl was tortured to the point of having 410 overlapping scars, broken teeth, and broken bones. Adoptive parents Joe and Evangeline were also there at the hospital with Elsa. Every time Joe and Evangeline would walk into the room, Debbie noticed physical changes in Elsa's behavior. For example, she'd begin to tremble, and her blood pressure would rise. She then had a suspicion about Elsa's stepparents. Newspaper articles showed that warning signs of abuse had been missed by other investigators from other agencies, but Debbie knew in her gut that Elsa's adoptive parents were hiding a dark secret. It took Richmond some time, but she eventually ferreted out a story about a preacher and wife who turned out to be Elsa, step-parents Joe and Evangeline Combs, who raised the girl as the family slave. That explained the sudden changes in Elsa's behavior every time she sees them. The case then garnered national attention. Joe and Evangeline Combs were then charged for abuse and escorted by the cops to the authorities. Thanks to Debbie's efforts and instincts, the horrifying truth came to light and she ultimately helped free Elsa from this nightmare. They say you should never investigate child abuse for more than 5 years because you burn out, Richmond said. I have never burned out, she added. It took a lot of people to get that case where it was, Richmond said. Of gathering the evidence, more than a decade has passed since the abusive parents received what amounts of life sentences. The girl has since changed her name, moved out of state and started her own family. Richmond still receives letters and handshakes of gratitude from strangers at an average of about once a week. As a result of that case, Nearly a dozen awards hanging on Richmond's office walls testified to the bulldogish attitude that pushed to a successful investigation. "I felt selfish getting the awards because it wasn't just me," she said. Debbie Richmond proved that a devastating past should not hinder anyone from making a difference. People should use their past experiences to be motivated and make a change for the better, to help other people to not have to go through what Debbie had already been into. Thanks for watching until the end. Be sure to tap the next videos for more inspiring stories right here on Extreme Trends.